We are live. Hi, my name is Georgina. I am an aquarist and a keeper here at the National Zoo and Aquarium. I'm going to do your live today. I am going to put my mask on though, just to be safe. If you can't hear me, just write in the comments that you can't, and I will try to talk a bit louder. So today's live is on our beautiful animals here in the aquarium section. So this is the Jervis Bay region of our aquarium. So Jervis Bay is actually part of the Australian Capital Territory, and these are some of the animals that you would find if you went for a bit of a swim in the ocean. So we'll start off with our big-bellied seahorses. Now they are called big-bellied seahorses because they do have really big bellies. Now big-bellied seahorses do have sexual dimorphism. So male seahorses have a really round belly, whereas females, they have a bit of a round belly, but it kind of comes in a lot sharper than the nice rounded male belly. Now you can see Katie has actually fed some shrimps out to our big-bellied seahorses. We do feed our seahorses a variety of things like brine shrimp, mysis shrimp, or krill. So in the ocean, seahorses will basically eat whatever can fit in their snouts. So if you watch them eat, you might see them move their head back and forwards really quickly. This movement is called snick, like a Snickers bar, and they are basically whipping their head back and to suck in all of that food. Now seahorses eat multiple times a day. They don't actually have a stomach, or they have a really short intestinal tract, which means that they do need to eat constantly throughout the day to get all the nutrients that they do need. So with the males and the females, they do look different. The males do have a brooding pouch. So these guys are pretty cool in a sense that the males will actually give birth to the babies. So female seahorses will actually deposit the eggs into the male's brood pouch, and that's where they get fertilized, and then the males will actually give birth to the baby seahorses. So when the male is trying to attract the female, he will actually buff up his pouch to show off to the female. So he'll swim over to the female and say, "Look at me, I've got a really big pouch. I can fit a lot of little babies inside me. Come and mate with me." And then they'll do a courtship dance. So this can last for a few days. The males and the females will actually do a bit of a dance. That's why we have a really tall tank here, because they'll swim up and down. They'll mimic each other. They can link their tails. They'll move their heads. Seahorses also have chromatophore cells, which means that they can actually change their color a little bit, and they do change it a little bit during their courtship dance. Now seahorses are found in temperate waters, so nice cool waters, and they are usually found in seagrasses or kelps. You can see one of our seahorses, oh, he's just letting go there. They do have prehensile tails, which means they can grip onto things like the seagrasses and the kelps. Now seahorses do like to live in areas with high water movement, because that way the food actually floats towards them. They don't hunt, they kind of wait for their food to go past, and then they kind of suck it up with that snick movement. Alright, so we'll move on to our crayfish now. So in here we have our lovely southern rock lobsters. You might also hear them being called crays or crayfish. So these guys are found in the cooler waters around Australia, mostly the southern parts, and around New Zealand as well. So these guys are adult lobsters, so a female adult lobster, if she's really, really big, she can actually carry about 1 million eggs under her tail. And she'll carry those eggs for about 5 months. She will then release those eggs and those eggs go through about 11 larval stages, which lasts about 9 to 24 months until they start looking like an actual lobster. So of those 1 million eggs, probably about 2 of them will survive to become the fully grown lobsters that you do see here today. So Katie is giving them a bit of a feed up there. So she is feeding them some white baits and some prawns. You can see they use their little legs to capture that food and bring it into their mouths. You can see a white bait coming down there. So southern rock lobsters, they don't have claws. Instead, they do have little sharp spines all up their legs. There you go. Oh, get it. There you go. Good job, bud. So when a lobster is a very, very young lobster, it can molt up to about 20 times a year. So they kind of lose their exoskeleton and they do grow a new one. Now when they do lose that exoskeleton, they are a little bit vulnerable. That exoskeleton is made up of nanocrystals called chitin, and they'll actually eat away at the little bits inside their exoskeleton to get all the nutrients they need to grow a new one. When they are adult southern rock lobsters, they will only molt about 1 time a year. So despite popular belief, crayfish do not mate for life. I know that's a little shattering. I was a little shattered when I found out, but they do have multiple breeding partners throughout their lifetime. So we have some other animals here in this tank as well. We have our boxfish. Here's our little yellow fish, and we have our porcupine fish as well. Now boxfish are pretty cool. Their skeletons are kind of unlike other fish. If you have a chance, do a bit of a Google search on the internet and look up boxfish skeleton. It's pretty crazy. It's actually in the shape of a box, as the name suggests. So they're not the best swimmers, but you know, they do have quite a clunky little shape there going on. So we also have our porcupine fish here. Porcupine fish are pretty cool. If they're feeling a little threatened, they can actually swallow some water and they will kind of boof themselves up or inflate into a big ball shaped. Now, sometimes in the morning, if they want to have a little stretch, they'll actually swallow a little bit of water and do a bit of a stretch. They won't inflate fully, but just a little bit. So kind of like you and I, if we want to have a morning stretch, they will do that. Now, porcupine fish are actually poisonous, not venomous. So if you were to get pricked by a porcupine fish, I mean, it wouldn't feel great, but you will be fine. So they are poisonous. If you were to eat one, then they are quite toxic to us. All right, so we might head over to our Port Jackson shark over here. So we have 2 Port Jackson sharks here. So this is one of them. So they are a type of shark that you can find again in the cooler waters and in Jervis Bay. So these guys don't actually have a name at the moment. We have 2 females. If you have any ideas for a name, maybe you can pop some in the comments and let us know what you think. They're pretty cute. They're babies at the moment. So Port Jackson sharks, they are benthic sharks, so they live at the bottom of the ocean and they feed from the bottom as well. So you can see Katie, she's got a little bit of squid there on a pole. There we go, she just got that. So because they are benthic, it does mean that their mouths are on the underside of their body. Now in the ocean, they'll eat things like crustaceans, little fish, basically anything they can sort of get to. They're quite opportunistic. You can have a look at their dorsal fins as well. They've got 2, and they have 2 little sharp spines on there to help protect them from predators. Now these sharks are pretty cool. They actually lay eggs, and these eggs are made from keratin, the same material that our hair and our nails are made from. They also lay eggs that are a spiral shape, and this sort of shape helps them lodge those eggs into rocks once they have been hatched from the female, I guess. So there we go, she's eating some more fish and some squid. So they do love squid. Squid is one of their favourite foods that we feed them here. It is a little bit like chocolate for them, bit of a nice treat. So if you have a look at our shark here, she looks like she has some nice smooth skin. Actually, this is not the case. Shark skin is actually quite rough. It's made up of little V-shaped dermal denticles, and that helps them to make their skin a bit tougher. So female sharks in particular have a slightly tougher skin than a male shark because they, during mating, the males will actually latch onto the females, so they do need that thicker skin just for that mating period. Now these dermal denticles, they help to streamline the shark. It makes them swim faster and quieter, it reduces the drag, and they're nice and streamlined. In fact, they're so streamlined that during the 2000 Olympics, I think it was Speedo, they made a swimming suit that a lot of Olympians use with these little V-shaped dermal denticles. They weren't made of the denticles, but they were inspired by them. And about 80% of the Olympic swimmers that won a medal in the 2000 Olympics were actually wearing these swimsuits with the dermal denticle pattern on them. I believe those swimsuits are now banned to make it a little bit more fair for all the Olympians. Now, if you're out in the ocean and you see an animal swimming past and you're not sure if it's a shark or a marine mammal, one of the easiest ways you can tell is by looking at their tails. So a fish or a shark, their tails will move from side to side. So you can see our little shark here, her tail is moving side to side. Whereas a marine mammal, you'll see it go up and down instead of like side to side motion. Now there are two sort of categories of fish. So the boxfish and the porcupine fish that you saw, they're atelius. They are a bony fish. Whereas our sharks and our rays, they are an elasmobranch. So they have a cartilaginous skeleton. So their skeleton is made up of cartilage, the same material that's inside our nose and our ears, those little hard bits. So you can see her kind of hunting for that food. Cool. So we have two female sharks here, and the way to tell the difference between a male and a female shark is to look for the presence or the absence of claspers. So male sharks will have two sausage-like appendages on their underside, and that's how you tell that they're males, so they use those for mating, whereas females, they don't actually have these sausage-shaped appendages at all. So if you saw our last live with Katie, she would have done one with our sharks. You might have seen Ernie. He's our male reef shark. You would have seen that he had these claspers. Oh, they're so cute. So Port Jackson sharks can get up to about 1.5 meters long. They are mostly nocturnal, and as they are benthic, they don't really move around a lot throughout the ocean. In the higher water columns, they kind of sit at the bottom there. The way that they mostly breathe is through a process called buccal pumping. So you can see her gills are moving sort of in and out. So she's actually pumping that water over her gills to get it through there so that she can get some oxygen and breathe. So your other sharks, like your grey nurse sharks or your great white sharks, they use ram ventilation. So they actually swim through the water, and you'll see them constantly swimming. And what that does is that allows the water to flow over their gills, and that way they don't have to pump it over like our little benthic sharks are doing. Alright guys, so I think we might wrap that up there. Thank you so much for tuning into our live. We really do miss you guys. We can't wait to have you back here. Stay tuned for some more lives. Stay safe.